It's been 101 days since we last saw green flag racing in NASCAR. Well, that count ends today as we begin the run for the Moonshiners Racing League Championship. The sports cars have had their fun, but now it's time for NASCAR to take back over the World Center of Racing as we welcome in a brand new season of the OB Builders Cup Series only on VSPEED. Welcome on in, everybody. Nick Stein and Shane Mundy here with you as we bring live coverage of the OB Builders Cup Series and the all-about sheet metal 300 from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. And got a race analysis here coming straight for you, as it's going to be 120 laps tonight, 300 miles. And Shane, I believe you got the rest of this race analysis for these guys.
Yeah, we got a pit speed of 60 miles an hour, and especially if we're pitting under green, you're going to see guys maybe locking them up a lot. Got 5 tire sets available, which you might need if you lock up those tires coming up pit road. If we need it, we'll have 1 green-white checkered attempt. We got 100% fuel, and it is a iRacing fixed setup, so everybody working with the same things here.
We're going to kick it to the Google Earth view of the Daytona International Speedway, obviously known as the World Center of Racing in Daytona Beach, Florida. Obviously just had an exciting, chaotic Daytona 500 that finished Sunday night. And hopefully we're looking to have some of the same as we're already rolling cars onto their pace laps here from Daytona. And it is set to be a good race here tonight. We are moving a little bit quick here, but it is for good reason as we are already rolling for pace laps as we work our way through this starting grid here tonight for the All About Sheet Metal 300 is going to be Shane Wyatt, who gets the pole position in the number 23. Matt Cox going to be starting on his outside in that second spot. Kenny Coppola in third with Aaron Matthews going to be in fourth. Shane Davis starts in 5th in that number 79 with Johnny Shade to his outside in the 45 and 6th. Randy Mullins starts 7th here tonight. Caden Norfree in 8th. Corey Moore starts 9th, and Paul Gallimore is going to round out your top 10. Starting in 11th place is going to be Jeffrey Taylor. Warren Young going to be in 12th position. Chad Sullivan 13th. Kevin Ruff going to be in 14th. Victor Pfluger starting off 15th here tonight. Preston Purrier in 16th. 17th going to be Brandon Bikey with Nigel Christensen in 18th. Hunter Carmichael going to be in 19th with Blaine Wilson rounding out your top 20. And Shane's going to take us through the rest of the field.
We got Brandon Fetterplace in the 34 car. We got Nick King in that 12 Ryan Blaney S Ford. Barry Sanders in the 81 Chris Spear in the number 7 car. Tim Wortman Jr. in the 83 Red Bull Chevrolet, or Red Bull S Chevrolet. Darren Mills in the 2 Toyota Camry. Moving on to Shawn Rogers in the 44. The 74 is Chris
Is that Barry in Discord?
Nicholas Atwood in the number 91. The 01 Ford Mustang is Matt Mackin. Alex Coffey in the number 19 and the number 8 Chevy Camaro alongside him and Colt Wiskowski. Got Jared Clark in the number 21, Justin Belmonte in the 60 Ford. And that, I believe, is our whole lineup here, Nick.
Yes, sir, it is. 34 cars starting here tonight for the 120-lap, 300-miler from Daytona, as mentioned before. Stages tonight, they do have stage racing in this league. It's going to be set at 30 and 60, lap 30 and lap 60 for the stage break, meaning that final stage is going to be a 60-lap run, so we're probably going to see a little bit of fuel saving towards the end of this race, but we really should not see any fuel saving at all through these first 2 stages, as with the 100% fuel, we're looking at about anywhere between 45 to 47 laps on fuel, depending on how well you fuel save. But we're working our way through turns 3 and 4 right now here at Daytona as Shane Wyatt and Matt Cox get ready to lead this field to green to start a brand new season here on VSPEED for the OB Builders Cup Series. And it's expected to be a good one. It is expected to be a good season. The Cup cars always putting on a show.
Yeah, always fun to see what these guys can do at Daytona. All the drafting that they're going to use, got to be careful to not push too hard. That pace car is going to make that sharp left-handed turn on a pit road. We're ready to get underway.
Shane Wyatt has control of the field. Green flag out in the air here at Daytona International Speedway. We are underway for the 2025 OB Builders Cup Series as the outside line already gets an amazing start as Matt Cox being pushed by that number 5 of Aaron Matthews. And that outside line's formed up, but here comes that inside line with Shane Wyatt, Kenny Coppola, and Shane Davis as they work their way back on that inside.
Yeah, that bottom lane with a lot more cars in it, going to have a lot more momentum. The top might die out a little bit. It seems like a lot of guys are trying to kind of just feed their way to the bottom, maybe take it easy to start. You can't win the race if you don't have a car at the end to finish with. But these guys are already pushing pretty aggressive, especially in that top lane. Matthews on Cox there.
Yeah, it's going to be a thing we see a lot with this fixed setup. It is a very loose setup and a very twitchy setup at that, as Shane Wyatt is going to lead lap number 1 of the All About Sheet Metal 300 here. First of 120 laps, but here comes that outside line once again. Aaron Matthews and Matt Cox doing a lot of work on that outside line, getting it back up to speed as they don't really have a lot of help. About 6 cars, make that 7 cars as Brandon Bikey hops up in that outside line, but that outside line still needs a lot of help if they want to keep up with this inside line long term.
They are staying together a lot better, keeping up a lot better, I mean, than I expected them to. What you mentioned a second ago, I want to go back to it. You mentioned this is a very loose setup. It's very easy to get squirrely here in the Cup cars, especially maybe on corner exit of turn 4. There's a little bump here, about right in here. On the apron that you can get loose on and spin it around. These guys are going to be on edge just about every lap tonight.
Shane Wyatt still your leader on that inside, and at number 23, Simrad Market Machine, Toyota Camry on that inside line. You got a Ford up top, and Matt Cox still leading that outside line. Not a lot of movement to this point, but I mean, with this new aero model that's been added to the Cup cars here within the last couple of updates, it's a lot harder to generate these runs. So we're going to be seeing a lot more two-wide racing that we may be used to with these Cup cars, as Brandon Bikey thought about making a third line up top, but decides against it.
It might be a good call for now, and mentioned it just a few laps ago that thought maybe these guys were going to kind of file their way down to the bottom. That is not the case anymore. The top is basically back to full strength. Some guys keeping their distance, maybe not wanting to push as aggressively as others. So with 35 of Norfrey there in the in that top lane, that kind of beige Toyota. A lot of movement though, and this is going to be a sketchy push right here. The 5 gets shoved down to the bottom. He's going to get in front of Wyatt, and Cox throws a big block, but it's going to be a big enough block to get him to the race lead.
Huge block from the 32 of Matt Cox there, as we're already blocking on lap number 4, as Cox looks like he wanted that lead. He wanted to keep that lead. He wanted to keep Aaron Matthews behind him as best as possible, but that outside line recharging back up, getting more and more numbers as here comes that outside line once again. Johnny Shade and Caden Norfrey now leaders of that outside line. Shade getting a little bit squirrely in the middle of 1 and 2 there, as Norfrey getting a little bit hairy with the pushes. Oh man, they're going to keep it straight somehow.
For how long is the best question. Cox and Matthews working tremendously together, though Matthews is basically tandem drafting at times with that one Ford up front.
Yeah, Matt Cox in that number 32. And that's kind of how you have to push now, especially with this new aero model. You really have to, that third car is a lot more important, but with this fixed setup, it's a lot harder to break that air bubble that we see with these cars. So it's going to be interesting, but that third car is going to come into play. And if that third car is able to break the air bubble, that whatever line has that third car pushing is going to be the preferred line for sure. So it's just going to be a matter of which line is able to get formed up quicker, and it looks like it's going to be that outside for right now.
The outside's staying pretty hooked together. They're all a lot tighter on each other's bumpers than most of the guys in the bottom lane. Got the 35, you're looking back at Norfrey, talked about him just a moment ago. Trying to keep this top lane going in the right direction. And back to Cox's block to get the lead just a moment ago. You know, sometimes you just want to get up front. That's sometimes the safest place to be, at least this early in the going. When you look back in your mirror and you see guys getting, out of shape, bobbing and weaving in and out of line like they are right now. It's a lot easier to get caught up in a crash if you're not by yourself up at the front of the pack. But we got a lot of movement on that top lane. Got some guys wanting to jump up there.
Looking at one of these awesome onboard cameras here. Yeah, looking at one of our driver cams right now, looking off the front end of Warren Young at the moment as he is in the hot seat right now. He is in the hornet's nest in the middle of this lead pack right here. Driver cams as well, we'll look at every once in a while just to kind of see the intensity of the situation, and you can just see the focus of everyone. This is just such an intense form of racing as we're looking now out the front end of Shane Wyatt in the number 23. Yeah, it is crazy. This isn't much, but it'll get a lot crazier as Bikey now jumps to the inside line, and a lot of shuffling going on here at Daytona.
Yes. As Shane Wyatt jumped up to the top. Got guys checking up quite a bit here because there's been a lot of movement in the bottom lane. Coppola has taken the race lead up at the front of the field in that 77 machine. We did have, I believe we've had one go around. Looks like there's definitely some left side damage on this 2 machine.
That's the number 2. He is crab walking a little bit there. Oh yeah, Chris Davis.
Interesting that we stayed green here.
Yeah, that I'm surprised that was not a caution. I guess everyone was off the racing surface at the time.
Just a push gone wrong, badly timed by the 3 there. Got the 74. Pretty significant hits for a few of these guys, especially we saw some of them crab walking back to pit road, like you mentioned, that suspension damage. Very easy to break one of these next-gen cars, and I believe that was also updated during the NASCAR offseason, the damage model and how they go about repairs as well.
Yeah, the repairs were updated big time, as now you can actually have too much damage to where they can't repair it in the pits, which is a very nice addition. But we go back up front to this lead pack, and it is single file, basically. You got a couple of pop-outs here and there. Got an outside line working on trying to form, especially further back. But up front, only about 4 cars right now willing to even try that outside line. And it's definitely been interesting, this new Aero model. It's been a big shakeup compared to what we're used to seeing with the 3 and 4 wide racing at Daytona. And it's been a quite nice change as well, as we're still not exactly sure what would the preferred line would be, especially with these early drafting.
Yeah, we've got, I do believe, kind of calming down here up at the front. Sometimes when you hear that there was a wreck out back, that will happen. You'll want to maybe take it a little easier, realize maybe you're getting away with murder in a sense.
Right as you say that.
And yeah, well, that's right on cue. They are bobbing and weaving right back to it. Got the 27 machine. Bikey, he has been all over the place, been locked on to the car in front of him. He wants to get to the front, and he's headed the right direction if he wants to do that.
Oh my goodness, we are all over the place here. Johnny Shane was side drafting everything it was worth out of Paul Gallimore and Brandon Bikey on that bottom line. There. And it actually allowed him to get some help behind him, so he really didn't lose too much time as what you would usually see.
You saw Bikey maybe just a moment ago going into turn 1, gave a push to Gallimore, got him just a little out of shape, and sometimes that is all it takes. These cars, it is hard to keep pushing. When you brought the driver cams up on the screen a moment ago, you talked about the focus of these drivers. Another thing that I noticed is just how steady that they're trying to keep that wheel. Talked earlier in the show about how these cars can just kind of snap here in the next gen at Daytona, and you want to keep as steady of a wheel as you can. Your hands are basically glued to it. The palms of your hands will be sore after this one. Your wrists, you'll feel this place by the time it's over.
Yeah, and that's the huge difference between fixed and open setup racing is this is a fixed setup league. So we've been saying it a couple of times here tonight, but these guys are going to have a handful trying to keep these cars straight. But if we were to go to some sort of open series racing, it would be a lot more smooth and a lot less chaotic, as those open setups are really built for the drafting. As we're getting a little bit hairy further back, Shane Wyatt in the 43 of, I believe that was Victor Pfluger, about spun going down the back straightaway. Everyone was able to keep it straight, but Pfluger's going to be going all the way to back of the field.
Pfluger is in the sucker hole that they call it, in that number 43 for Dig Esports team. You'll find his home here at the back, and they might lose the draft here if he's not careful. And that is just brutal. If you want to talk about just miserable to race at Daytona, is when you're all by yourself just kind of riding around enjoying the scenery.
Oh, I have my fair share of experience of that. I absolutely despise being solo here, especially at the plate tracks, but more so Daytona, as it's a lot more boring than Talladega when it comes to just being a single car for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. I find Talladega more interesting to drive when I'm solo than Daytona. It's very weird.
Pull is still up at the front here. We are 13 laps complete, now 14. At the 54 of Mullins leading the top line.
So you're one off there, 14 laps, working on 15 now. That outside line, they're working on going. They're working on getting formed back up here, as now Matt Cox going to hop back up in front of that top line. Aaron Matthews right behind him, as they're going to work on getting back up to this 4-car breakaway we got going up front. This is Kenny Coppola, Shane Davis, Paul Gallimore, Brandon Bikey, your 4 leaders up front. They're followed by Caden Norfree. But that top line, they're working on getting formed up. Aaron Matthews and Matt Cox, they have been the saviors of that outside line to this point, this far into the race.
Yeah, Matt Cox just got a little bit out of line of his pusher there out back, the number 5 of Matthews. Just trying very hard to get up at the front. We know he's not afraid to be aggressive. He's done so earlier. We saw him take the lead with an aggressive jolt from the top to that bottom lane. You see this right here on him so tight that the iRacing model is clipping through our camera here.
That's a funny view. That some bugs that you gotta sit here and laugh at a little bit.
This is a great shot right here of them in the corner. Looking at Matthews specifically in that 5 car, you can just see how out of line they are. This is a great camera shot. You just see how hard they're actually working. You know, watching from home, you think that they're just, you know, steady on the wheel, just going around here in a circle. It is a lot more stressful than that. As we got a new leader up on the top lane now, Bikey in the 27, the all red machine. And this top lane is rolling now. Coppola's going to have some company here.
Yeah, and if you're watching this and you're sitting here wondering why people are being so aggressive, well, we're past halfway in stage number 1. That's why. Lap 30 is the mark we're shooting for to end this first stage. Oh, and we're getting a little bit squirrely. Right at the front, Paul Gallimore and Caden Norfree about spun in turns 3 and 4. Norfree hit Gallimore, trying to get him to get back up to Shane Davis, and then about sent Gallimore around in front of the field.
And you got to wonder just how long they can get away with those kinds of moves. It's only a matter of time before one push goes wrong. We already saw one incident earlier. It was a lot more minor than maybe it possibly could have been. We'll take a look at what just happened here.
Yeah, this is Norfree and Gallimore. Wow.
And pushing in the corners, it can be pretty treacherous, very kind of sketchy, on edge. That's a good example of that.
Oh, Cox to the inside now of Bikey for the lead. Matt Cox hops in front of the 77 of Kenny Coppola and takes the lead of that inside line, but Aaron Matthews says, no, sir, I want Bikey to lead this lap. He is going to push that outside line out to 2 cars clear. And almost 3, make that almost 4 now, as that outside line got a huge shot of momentum off of turn number 4.
Yeah, Aaron Matthews has been an incredible pusher already tonight. He can get locked on tight. You'll see a good example of that here down the back stretch.
Car pulling off the backstretch and going towards the inside wall. Not sure who that is.
It
was a Toyota. Corey Moore.
Back rolling now. Not sure if he maybe got kind of turned out of line, was able to hold on to it. We'll look into that here.
No. Not sure what the issue for Corey Moore was.
Coming
Look
off
here,
turn
coming off of
two.
turn number 2.
Oh, just
Yanks it down.
pulls out of line.
Oh,
Oh, and he does make
man.
contact with the wall. That
That is
almost looks like
strange.
it almost looked like maybe a steering wheel, like an actual wheel issue,
Or
maybe a connection problem of some kind,
it's
where
got
the
to be
wheel
some
just
sort
had,
of, I'm going to go with hardware issue there.
yeah,
Monitor
that's
going out, some sort.
could have been monitor coming out sometime. Maybe the wheel could have just calibrated randomly. I know that that's an issue some go through sometimes. Unfortunate for the 42. He is still out there rolling as Bikey continues to lead up at the front.
They got a new leader on that inside line, Jeffrey Taylor, in the number 9, has come to lead that inside line after hopping out of the outside. That inside line is going to start working their way past that outside line as well, as they've got 2 or 3 cars now. This is all it is. This is all Daytona is. It's a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess. One of my favorite sayings here is Shane Davis hops up in front of Brandon Bikey in that outside line, and he's going to leave that inside line, and he does not feel us. Here comes Gallimore and Coppola. It's going to bring Matt Cox up as well. He tried to block, didn't quite have it. Jeffrey Taylor thought about another block as well. Not quite ready enough, I guess, to block this early in the race.
There is a little bit of damage on the left front of the one of Cox there on the bottom. Not sure what caused that, the 32, I mean. It is still Jeffrey Taylor leading that inside line.
Yeah, and Kenny Coppola on that outside with Gallimore, Davis, Bikey,
There's the 32.
and
See the-
Matthews all in order.
Sorry about that, Nick. Just the left front, just a little crumpled. Doesn't appear to be hurting him too much, but sometimes if you do get enough damage, especially on the front end of these cars at a place like this, it will affect your ability to especially lead a lane.
All right, well, 8 laps to go. Matt Cox.
Pushed him so tight that he got out of line. He almost got hooked back up into the pack.
Yeah, I was getting ready to mention that as well. Matt Cox, Jeffrey Taylor getting separated there. That inside line starting to lose a lot of its gusto. Is that outside line really starting to get formed up here? 8 laps to go here in stage number 1. Racing to lap 30 for stage points to pay out for the first time this race. And here comes that inside line once again. They're starting to get wood back up as well, as they are even with Brandon Bikey now, almost about even with Shane Davis as well, as they cross the finish line to take 7 to go.
I believe that moment that Cox and Taylor had there on the bottom last lap around kind of killed that inside momentum for a little bit. They are getting their momentum back now. Kenny Coppola continues to lead up at the front. His pusher behind him is the number 11 of Paul Gallimore.
Yeah, Gallimore had a rough speed weeks, to say the least, in that number 11 camp. He looks to be a lot more comfortable here for the 300 at least. So that 11 is definitely a favorite in this race, I feel like. He has definitely been one of the more agile plate racers that we've seen here to start the season at least, and you can see it already. He's up in second, leading that outside line, and like I said, definitely one of the favorites I feel like for tonight's race. We'll see if that is the same case here in about 95 laps time.
Yeah, 2-time winner of the series as well as Paul Gallimore. Also won the 24 Hours of Daytona special event here on iRacing. So he knows this place, maybe just the infield of it in a completely different car, but might want to, he's familiar with what Victory Lane looks like here at Daytona.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Never mind. I was going to try to make a funny little joke there, and then my mind just blanked. So what I'm going to talk about it is Jeffrey Taylor about gets turned off the nose of Matt Cox coming off of turn number 4. I was just getting ready to say they're about even with that outside line now, but Taylor just about getting turned off of turn 4 is going to ruin all that work they did.
And that has allowed the first 4 cars on the outside lane to get clear.
And already starting to hear some frustrations over the in-race radio. Jared Clark voicing his frustrations this early on. But we are working our down the back straightaway. Matthews now jumps down to the inside line in the number 5. He's got the help of the number 1 behind him. Warren Young decides to hop down to the inside line with him as well. And now working on getting back even with that outside line as we come to take 4 to go in stage number 1.
Yeah, teammates at Team Aero there on the bottom lane, the 5 and the 1. Talked about the 5 earlier in the race. Got a whole gaggle of Team Aero cars right here. 2 of them up top there in the 34 and 17. You got the 5 and the 1 on the bottom line. Kenny Coppola still in control of this race, and the top seems to be a lot more stable as well, and they are locked together, and I think that's another reason they are just crushing this bottom line right now.
Yeah, they are a lot more formed up. They got a lot more numbers as well, as they have almost the entire outside line now clear of the inside line. That inside is just, they're formed up. They just don't seem fast at all right now.
This is a good onboard. I believe this is Warren Young's onboard, pushing his team, and you just see just how squirrely that they can get, sometimes pushing out of the tri-oval. And we have a few guys jumping down to the bottom. They've seen enough of that top line. They want to go.
Yeah, the other Team Aero cars, the number 34, Brandon Fetterplace, he was your Clash winner a couple of weeks ago. He's got Chad Sullivan behind him, and now that inside line is starting to do some work. Fetterplace, though, gonna get left by Sullivan in the number 17. Sullivan now gonna be going through the sucker hole.
And I'll tell you what, I kind of almost wonder if the 5 and 1 were maybe losing that momentum on the bottom line on purpose so their teammates could get down in front of them, and it just did not work out. That 17 just got a little out of shape on the backstretch, and then a little bit of just, it's very easy to second guess if you're clear or not, and you don't want to hold yourself up too much to let someone back in line, and unfortunately for the 17 of Sullivan, he's going to be dropping back, but it is Daytona, so I have no doubts that we will see him again as the 79 new leader up at the front here, side by side with Coppola.
Yeah, we've had a lot of developments here. Alex Coffey, Barry Sanders, and Shane Davis hopping out from the outside line to take control of this inside line and bring it to the 77 of Coppola for the lead as we got 2 laps to go here in stage number 1. They thought about making a third line. Coffey to the outside now of Shane Davis as they're coming to take the white flag in stage number 1. Coffey leads that lap. Will it be the same here in 2.5 miles time as now through going into turn 1, Shane Davis has Barry Sanders behind him, part of the Team Aero camp as well as help on that inside line. And now here comes Kenny Coppola trying to back up to get some help from Paul Gallimore to give Alex Coffey a huge shot on this outside line. And here comes that huge run from the outside line. Who pops out first? 77. There goes the 77 of Kenny Coppola for the lead here in stage number 1. Gallimore to the outside. He's going to force Coffey 3 wide, and here comes Brandon Bikey now to the outside as help, but it is going to be Kenny Coppola taking the first stage of 2025, and that wasn't very close at all.
Tell you what, he timed that absolutely perfect. He gave a huge shove to Coffey down the backstretch, waited till he was clear, and just flung it right down to the bottom. Had all the momentum in the world, and Kenny Coppola, who's been up front for a decent bit of the race so far tonight, maybe putting himself in place as a very early favorite to take the win tonight.
Coppola takes the first stage of 2025 here in the OB Builders Cup Series, the All About Sheet Metal 300. Coppola takes stage number 1. Alex Coffey, though, he was leading through turns 3 and 4. He ended up, I believe, 7th place. Yeah, 7th place at the end of stage number 1, and that's how quickly things can change here at Daytona. But we'll run you through our top 10 as we have it right now. Coppola, of course, winning stage number 1. Shane Davis, Paul Gallimore, Barry Sanders, Brandon Bikey rounds out your top 5. Brandon Fetterplace, Alex Coffey, Aaron Matthews, Caden Norfrey, and Matt Cox are the ones getting stage points here tonight. And that is going to finish off an exciting stage number 1.
Definitely very on edge early.
Very, very on edge. And we're going to try to get a replay of just this whole last lap as, I mean, it kicked off immediately. As soon as they took the white flag for stage 1, it kicked off. Like, just in the absolute best way possible. As up front, they were kind of calm, and then it got to the back stretches. They started to get a run on that inside line, and then I believe it was Shane Davis was the first one to hop out of that outside line.
And you got Coppola up at the front here right now, and then turn 3. And it's like you said, the second that the stage points basically came into play, it was game on. Everyone just started making crazy moves, and got the 19 there, pops out of line. And
Yeah,
the
this
bottom
is the white
just gonna
flag.
catch up.
That was the white flag for stage 1 right there. I think we caught that replay just a lap early, but yeah, Shane Davis hopped out right as they took the white flag for stage 1. And then he got a huge push from the 19 of Coffee. They get separated in the middle of the corner. And then I think Coffee gets another huge run down the back straightaway and then gets sent 3 wide at some point.
We might be coming to the white flag at the stage right here.
Okay, yeah, I think we're now coming to the white flag.
19 and the 17 are locked up together. So watch the 19. He jumps up to the top, times that very well. And like, there it is. That's what I was referring to. Just the second stage points were really on the line. Bottom, top, bottom, top. And the 77 is the one you're going to want to watch here, Kenny Coppola. The 11's going to give him a huge shove. The second the 77 gets clear here down the back, it is just masterful move, veteran move.
And apologies for the technical issues with the replay. They're still working on getting some of these technical issues figured out, so just bear with us. We'll get it down eventually here, but coming down the back stretch here, and that is where Coppola hops out of line on the 19 of Alex Coffey, and Gallimore ends up sending him 3 wide here. I think that is what won Kenny Coppola the stage right there, is Gallimore going 3 wide on Alex Coffey.
Yeah, I do believe that, you know, Alex Coffey, could he have gotten a shove there? He might have still had a chance to maybe side draft him, pull him back a little bit, and maybe still steal that stage, but unfortunately, just, I don't believe that the 11 meant to hang him out necessarily, just they did not meet at a comfortable point to push him for Gallimore and Coffey.
And I think we had another wreck somewhere, because before the end of stage 1, we only had 3 retirements, and now we have 5. Jared Clark and Matt Mackin, number 21 and number 01, have retired from this race. They're 7 laps down. Hunter Carmichael, Colt Bleskowski, and Darren Mills, the cars involved in that first accident.
Oh, yep, right there.
Yeah, right there. So that's what Jared Clark was all up in arms about a few laps ago. We mentioned that over the broadcast, that we're hearing some drivers voice their frustrations already, so I'm assuming that's what that was about.
And this place will do it to you. It's just a split-second misjudgment. That's all it takes to send somebody around. And you don't mean to do it, but it is very easy to do here. As we take a look at this onboard camera staring down at the 27 there. Here's our driver cams as well. This is the calm before the storm. This is just, you know, get you a drink or something. There you go. And just get ready to get back going, because it won't be, these driver cams will not be this calm in about 5 laps.
Oh, no, they won't. So we'll go ahead and reset the field just real quick as we had pit stops take place at the stage break. Shane Davis is your leader heading into this restart. Brandon Bikey. And that's another thing we do have to mention. They do have choose cones, so if it's not lined up on the ticker as to how they are in the race, do not worry about it. They do have a choose cone. So Shane Davis decided to take the outside line in the number 71. He's got Brandon Bikey, or excuse me, the 79. He's got Brandon Bikey to his inside, who's going to restart second. Paul Gallimore, Kenny Coppola, Barry Sanders rounds out your top 5. Caden Norfree, Brandon Feder plays Cabin Ruff, Randy Mullins, Jeffrey Taylor rounds out your top 10, and then Nick King, Johnny Shade, Chris Spear, Chad Sullivan, and Preston Purrier round out your top 15 as we come back to restart and get stage number 2 going. And this is going to be a little bit shorter of a stage here, as we're only going to lap 60. So these guys will be moving at a lot quicker pace, as we only have 25 laps here. As the pace car does pull off the track here, it is going to be in the hands of Shane Davis And he hits it right in the middle of the restart zone. Green flag back out in the air here for the All About Sheet Metal 300 as we work on getting stage number 2 started, as Shane Davis doesn't have a lot of help on that outside line, and Bikey is going to end up taking the lead into turn number 1.
Yes, and Davis got a good start, like a very good start. Bikey didn't, but it's worked out for him because he's got 2 behind him that are formed up pretty well. Problem is, nope, here we go. The bottom's going to get a little more help now. But as we get going here in stage 2, you thought that the intensity ramped up at the end of stage 1, or even just the little bits and moments of stage 1. It's just going to get even crazier as we get closer to the finish. You can sense that just in the way that they're driving.
Well, I feel like once we get into stage number 3, things will calm down just a little bit, because these guys are going to have to do a little bit of fuel saving to be able to make it on just one stop. So I feel like stage number 3 is going to definitely calm down just a little bit, but stage 2 should still be as crazy as advertised as we got in stage 1.
Yeah, we saw there just a moment ago the 23, Shane Davis. There he is, our pole sitter for Dig Esports. Jumped back down to the bottom, trying to find his way back up to the front. He's cracked the top 10 now.
And we have got a 6-car breakaway up front. Not sure what is going on here. I guess that outside line just disintegrated. As the 6-car breakaway, they're getting caught by this, I guess you could call it a second pack now, but it had a 6-car breakaway for just a second as Shane Davis, Kenny Coppola, Brandon Bikey, Paul Gallimore, and a couple others were the ones who got away. It was Barry Sanders and I believe Kevin Ruff as well, but now they've been caught by Feder Place and company as the second pack starts to get caught back up.
So far, so good. A little calm here at the start of this stage, just kind of like we saw at the start of the race, where there's a little more action just mainly on the bottom, just kind of riding for the time being. Let's take a look at one of those Aero cars. Barry Sanders in the number 81. Running inside the top 5. Respectable run so far. Obviously, that can change in the blink of an eye here. Barry from Lexington, Kentucky for Team Aero. The RS button box of sponsorship for him.
Okay, and I figured out what happened to Corey Moore when he popped out of line and hit the inside wall. He actually had his screen freeze, so that explains why he had to pop out of line and ended up hitting the inside wall, as it is pretty much single file throughout the entire field. You really only have double file about 20 cars back, but nobody is wanting to go onto that outside line right now.
I wonder how long this will last, because usually when we say that, they pop right back up there.
Well, that took about 2 seconds. Oh, never mind. I lied.
Yeah, they're trying, and it just doesn't have enough momentum in it right now. So most of these guys here, they're just going to pop back down to the bottom. Like you said, just about the entire field is single file now. You got the 5 and the 1 here. A couple other Team Aero cars. Saw them up the front earlier. Maybe trying to plan something at the end of that stage, got separated with their teammates, and now maybe paying the price there a little bit. See Matthews in the 5 there. One of the more aggressive pushers that we've seen tonight.
Got a little bit of an outside line foreman
19.
here.
Coffey's out of line. He goes through the grass, gets it back up on track. Not sure if he got... Oh, no, it's going to get turned.
Oh, wrecking in turn number 3. I believe that was Warren Young.
It was Warren Young. Another Team Aero car.
No caution for that. Number 1, Warren Young.
And Warren Young from Jonesville, North Carolina, just looks like he was just a victim of circumstance there. Maybe a little bit of net code, it looked like on my end.
Yeah, not sure.
Of damage to this thing.
Yeah, that car may be done.
Yeah, that right front is bent in pretty far, sticking out to the right a good bit.
We're working on getting a replay here.
See what happens.
We head to a VSPEED.
Watch the 19
replay.
There. Oh, big block out of, I believe that's the 91. He's going to come up, and I think it looks like he just tags him. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Never touch him. Just
wow.
Big time net code. And that is a heck of a shot into the outside wall. Like you said, that might not, we might not see that car come back out here.
Heavy net code here at Daytona as we get back to live action. And we had an outside line for a moment, but they're currently 3 wide coming off of turn number 2, so we have another 6-car breakaway up front.
And we did mention a moment ago that it was a matter of time. They don't have a whole lot of help right now, so it might not last too long, but so far so good. Still all Davis in the number 79 up at the front of this field.
Yeah, and Warren Young has pulled it behind the garage, or pulled it into the garage. He has retired that number 1 car for the night. Warren Young becomes our 6th retirement on the night. Still got 29 cars on track, all 29 of them being on the lead lap. Actually, I believe Corey Moore, actually no, we have 30 cars on track. Corey Moore is 1 lap down, but he is still running.
You hate that for Warren Young, just something out of pretty much everybody's control in that situation. It's not like Coffee, you know, hooked a right on him on purpose, just unfortunate connection issue there, and unfortunately ends his Daytona bid here.
An unfortunate start to the season for that number 1 machine. Not the way you want to start off a long season like this, but you do have a lot of time to recover before we get into the playoffs later on this year. But that outside line, they're trying to get back up here once again. We'll see if they can actually keep it too wide this time.
The 20 just got a little swirly there out of line. Was able to recover all right, gets back in. We've seen a lot of that tonight. Just guys getting pushed out of line, and it's up to them to recover. We saw that with the 19 of Coffee just a moment ago, and it almost worked out until we made it to turn 3.
My goodness, 202 miles an hour into turn number 3 for Shane Davis. Wow. These guys are hauling on this inside line.
Top line very out of shape there, and that's another reason that they just can't get formed up. We got almost kind of a 5-car breakaway, just a little bit here at the front from Davis back to Sanders. Barry Sanders ends that line in 5th. Take a look at our driver cams yet again. Talked about it during the stage break, how everything looked calm. They were all laser, you know, not laser focused. They were just taking it easy. We're back to locked in now.
Yeah, Randy Mullins also hitting 202 miles an hour into turn number 1 there. Yeah, these guys are hitting speeds I did not think were possible with this Aero model. Shane Davis, 199 into the corner there. Randy Mullins, I believe, hit 198 as well. So these guys are definitely pushing very hard here in stage number 2, getting ready to already cross the halfway point of said stage.
And Randy Mullins there in that 54, making the first really big charge we've seen out of the top line in a while, but he's making it work for him so far. Stalled out a little bit.
That outside line just, they're fast. They just cannot get formed up enough to take it to this inside line, especially with how Kenny Coppola is pushing Shane Davis on this inside line.
Yeah, Shane Davis just, you know, he's been very stable all night, and that's another thing we talked about earlier. The best line seems to be the guys that are keeping it the straightest in line. They got the most momentum, and you see the top lane there, you got some guys a little lower than others, higher than others, whereas on the bottom, everybody's basically dead even in line with one another, and that goes a long way.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely starting to see who's the class of drafting here. Shane Davis, Kenny Coppola, Brandon Bikey, Paul Gallimore, and Barry Sanders, your top 5 as they cross the halfway point of stage number 2. Still on that outside line, you got Randy Mullins, Chris Davis, and Caden Norfree leading that outside line, but they just have not been able to do much at all. As we've brought up a couple of times, they're able to get even with about 6th in line, but they really haven't been able to do much more than that.
Once they get about up to 6th, they just kind of stall out. We do have a slow one here. That'll kind of impact this a little bit. The first 3 cars on the bottom, now first 4 jump up top. And you see what that does to the whole pack out back there. Look at this. Now they're just snaking, trying to, as careful as they can, make their way around the slower car.
Yeah, it looks like everyone gets formed back up all right. Once again, that inside line is just way too powerful right now. That outside line just not able to do anything. And this is just a clinic in pushing from Kenny Coppola right now in that number 77. If you want to know how to push at Daytona, just watch an onboard of the 77, and you'll figure out very quickly.
Yeah, he has definitely been the one who's for the lead or pushing tight. I think we're going to be coming up on another slow one here, I believe I saw up ahead.
I believe it's Corey Moore they're coming up on.
That top line still trying to get formed up, and more just keep diving to the bottom. That is going to absolutely just disintegrate any momentum that top lane has. You see the slow one way up there. That might look like a long ways to go, but he's going to be here pretty shortly.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Shane Davis and Kenny Coppola want on this inside line. They're trying to make it to where they can just race it out for the stage themselves. They don't want any challenges from that outside line. And I feel like they're doing a pretty darn good job of that to this point. I mean, Randy Mullins and Chris Davis, they've been doing a lot on that outside line to keep it where it is. They just have not been able to do anything to get past about 5th or 6th. So Shane Davis and Kenny Coppola, they are doing whatever they want right now because they don't have any challenge whatsoever from that outside line.
You know, slow one going to be a little easier to maneuver this time, especially with those guys on the top. Guys in the bottom able to get by good as well. Like you said, Shane Davis just doing a good job leading this pack right now. Shane driving for BMP, teammates with Matt Cox that we talked about earlier on in the show.
Well, now this outside line's starting to get a little bit more momentum going now because the inside line had to pass that lap car. That outside line ended up getting a little bit of draft off of Barry Sanders, which allowed him to start building up a run. And now this inside line is going to start to struggle just a little bit as it's only 4 cars that are actually helping towards the draft. Meanwhile, it's only 5 on the outside, so it's a little bit more even, but still, that inside line is going to be struggling just a little bit.
Yeah, something that is definitely helping that 54th, however, of Randy Mullins there. He drives for Ram Motorsports, and that is his teammate behind him in Chris Davis. Chris Davis from Koshkonong, Missouri, I believe is how you say that one. That's a new one.
All I can think about when I hear Chris Davis is down the sideline. He's at the 50. He's at the 40. That's all I can think about is that you know exactly what I'm talking about. Any college football fan knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say the name Chris Davis.
Well, I will say another thing about Chris Davis, if it adds anything to the lore of Chris Davis that we're building here, his nickname is Seabiscuit. So there's that for you. There's a little tidbit for you.
Interesting.
And they jump down to the bottom there. Speaking of those 2 teammates, had been working the top for several laps.
Yeah, I think they finally saw that there was no time in that outside line, especially with the way Kenny Coppola is pushing Shane Davis right now. I mean, 202 in a turn 1, that's almost unheard of, and they're hitting that easily.
Interesting here is Cox at 32. He's making a lot more headway on this outside line than those 2 Ram teammates were.
What can I say? Ford power.
Oh boy. Oh, we're not going to get into we're not going to get into the manufacturer games here.
I'm a delusional Ford fan. Let me be.
Oh boy. We're going to have a fight up here in the booth.
Oh, don't you dare say you're a Toyota boy.
Oh, that's me, man.
Ah.
I guess we'll have to get a third. We need a Chevy one up here, and we'll just all bicker for 120 bucks.
That is exactly what we need to do. Just need to have an all-out brawl in the broadcaster's booth mid-race.
See these Team Aero cars. Been talking about them a lot. They just have been trying to work together, but especially, we talked about the one machine going out of the race earlier, had that netcode incident. That was a Team Aero car, so they're down some help now, and they're also pretty separated here. There's a couple of them working this front pack here, the 17 and the 5. Matthews has been locked on to whoever he has been pushing tonight. And we also have, I believe, can't quite make out the number on that Pfizer Camry, but that was the one that we saw headed towards the inside wall earlier. That had a screen freeze. He's back going now.
That was Corey Moore. Get you a number on that real quick. That was the 42 of Corey Moore.
42 Corey Moore. running 29th right now. He's got Coffee in the 19 behind him. Interesting that Coffee has ended up not recovering at all. He did pop up back in line at a decent spot when that incident happened, but I mean, he was right there in the mix for the stage 1 win, and now just kind of working this small back pack here.
Yeah, we got another 4-car breakaway up front. I feel like we've said that like at least 3 or 4 times to this point in stage number 2, but this inside line is just, there's no words. I mean, especially these top 4 cars. I mean, look at this. I mean, 4 cars and they're still hitting 201 going into turn number 1. So I feel like you've found your 4 favorites.
Yeah, if you want to know how to work together at Daytona, just take a look at what these 4 are doing and look at this pack behind them. All these cars just have nothing on them. That gap is unbelievable. 6th place, or back to 5th place, excuse me, is 7/10 at the moment behind the leader.
Yeah, this is unreal. I mean, now they're starting to catch back in because you can't really do 4-car breakaways like you used to be able to do anymore, especially with this newer aero model, but still absolutely insane that these top 4 are able to just pull 7/10 whenever they want on the rest of the field, especially at Daytona. As we cross for 5 to go here in stage number 2, Shane Davis has led every lap at stage number 2, has not given up a lap, and I don't think he plans to give up a lap at stage number 2.
I think it'd be of note, Barry Sanders in that 81 and that 54, Randy Mullins. They worked very well together to get right back up here. That 81 shot out of a cannon just a lap ago. But now here's Cox, who we've talked about a lot, has made some aggressive moves. He's headed back towards the front, leading that outside lane. We're starting to get a little racy here as stage 2 is getting on the way out.
4 to go here in stage number 2. That outside line, they're trying. I mean, you got to give them that. They're trying. They're doing whatever they can to try and catch Shane Davis and Kenny Coppola. But, I mean, I feel like it is a moot effort at this point, especially with the way they've shown that they can just break away from this lead pack whenever they want to.
I believe that was Davis that just shot right up to that outside line. And those top 4 in particular, we talked about them breaking away just a couple laps ago. It's like I said, these guys on the outside are trying so hard. They are doing everything that they can, but these guys are just working so well together and staying tucked right in line, right up against the other's bumper. It's just making it almost impossible to get up to them. I mean, the 74 Davis, he's just barely outside of Gallimore.
Yeah, if this outside line wants to make any time, they're going to have to start side drafting, and very soon at that. As I mean, that's the only way, as you see Chris Davis actually puts a side draft on the 11 of Gallimore. I guess they can hear me when I say stuff, so they still need to do a little bit more side drafting to be able to just get, get Bikey off the back of the 77. As actually, here comes that outside line. Shane Davis gets a huge run through turns 3 and 4, and coming off of 4, coming to 2 to go. It's actually Shane Davis is going to lead this lap.
Shane Davis is going to get a lead. I'm not sure what happened to Kenny Coppola there going into a...
Oh, Davis, they're going to wreck. Cox is around.
And here we go. We've been waiting on it
at Daytona.
Oh, and Kenny Coppola is in it. The dominant car of the night, you could argue. Main one to watch.
I
Cox
only see
beat up. I think they're still wrecking up here.
6 cars. I only see 6 cars that made it through that.
Oh my goodness. It was a matter of time.
Wow.
We'll see what happened here. The bottom, it looked like the bottom lane just got very jumbled up. This is where Davis takes the race lead. And I want to say one of these guys that are first through third in the outside lane dives bottom.
Oh, okay.
74. Yep, and then, oddly enough, that isn't what caused that.
Actually, well, Davis goes down in front of Shane Davis. Chris Davis in front of Shane Davis. And I believe Matt Cox wanted to go with him, and I'm assuming the draft kind of sucked him down into that middle line, and I guess that's where he got turned. And that's what caused this entire thing. We'll get another look at it if we can get a little bit of a slowed down look.
Yeah, Davis goes down to the bottom. I thought maybe Davis the 74 diving down to the bottom. We won't confuse you too much with the Davis on Davis crime here. But
But yeah,
Cox actually gets turned by the 44. I thought maybe Shane Davis going down to the bottom caused it, but 74 or 44, I mean, just gets, they meet up at a bad point. The one's going to come up,
yeah.
and he gets the 44 gets the right rear quarter panel. And it just sets off a chain reaction. And I want to say Coppola was almost lucky, but the 44 dived low, I think expecting the one to maybe come back down. And I think that actually did more harm than anything else.
Well, good news if you're a Kenny Coppola fan. It doesn't look like he has too much damage on that 77.
Actually,
Unless he
looks
just
fairly clean. I mean,
honestly, for a big wreck like that with that many cars, I don't see a lot of destroyed race cars.
Yeah, I think everybody made it out with pretty minor damage. I mean, the 77 looks pretty good. Maybe a little dent in the dead center of the front bumper. Definitely a little crumple on the right rear, but I think he'll be all right. There doesn't look like anything suspension is broken.
That wreck did take us to the end of stage number 2. Shane Davis got the win for that, the stage win. So he takes his first stage win of the year, that number 79. But we're still trying to figure out the exact order and how stage points are going to be handed out here. But for right now, we do know Shane Davis, I believe, was the leader at the time of caution.
Shane Davis for BMP getting the stage win with his teammate for BMP, Matt Cox, going into the outside wall. It's a bit of a...
Actually, I lied. Wrong Davis. Chris
there.
Davis.
Oh,
Chris Davis, I believe, is going to be the winner. But it's... I'm not too sure. We'll get confirmation. I believe it was one of those two were stage 2 winner. We'll take a break here while we try to figure out who ended up actually winning stage 2. Stay right here. We'll bring you stage 3 action here on VSPEED. Stay right here.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live here at the Virtual World Center of Racing as we just finished up stage 2 and had our first big wreck of the night. We got confirmation Chris Davis was the winner of stage number 2 there. He was leading at the time of caution, so that stage win will be awarded to the number 74. But we are coming back to another restart, and look who's back up front. Shane Wyatt in that number 23 Simrap Market Toyota Camry, back leading this race. He's got Shane Davis to his outside. Brandon Bikey going to restart 3rd. Brandon Federplace, or excuse me, Chris Davis going to be restarting 4th. Brandon Federplace is going to be restarting in 5th, and that'll round out your top 5 as we're coming off of turn number 4, coming to restart stage number 3.
And it's Shane Wyatt, like I said, our pole winner in Greensboro, North Carolina. Dig Esports looking to maybe keep it up front this time. It's a good time to reset. Both stages are done. We're going to the checkered from here, barring maybe some cautions along the way. Pace car is off.
Shane Wyatt has control, and he waits for it. Green flag back out in the air. Ooh, they may review that restart. Shane Davis definitely beat Shane Wyatt to the line.
We did see
There may
Shane
be a
Davis get
review.
a really good restart earlier as well from that outside lanes, and that definitely looked a little bit close. We'll just have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if they're going to review that. But Shane Davis definitely beat the 23 of Shane Wyatt to the line. But that outside line, complete opposite from stage 2. They are the more dominant line right now. But that's purely because Brandon Bikey and Chris Davis are in that outside line.
Oh, yeah.
Get a quick replay of this restart here.
You mentioned
And you
that
see what
the
we're talking about.
The 23 of Shane Wyatt, he does wait a good bit into the box. I don't know. It looked to me like he might just not have gotten going that well. The 27 was even pushing him a bit. I don't know. We'll have to see how race control deems that one. But so far, I don't believe we've had anything mentioned about it.
Well, we'll see.
Take a
If
wild
anything
guess
is
if
actually
Shane
done.
Wyatt might have had a word or two about it. But
I didn't hear anything over the in-race radio, but that doesn't mean he didn't say something privately. Because we're getting back going here off of a restart. We just started stage number 3. If you're just now joining us, lap 65 out of 120. Stage 1 and stage 2, they were interesting. Let's say that at least. Stage 1 filled with action-packed racing, 2, 3 wide all throughout. And it was Kenny Coppola who ended up taking his first stage win of the season. Stage 2 kind of mellowed out just a little bit. Didn't really see a lot of close, crazy racing, but we saw a huge wreck to end stage number 2, in which Chris Davis took that second stage from Shane Davis. So, for Daytona, I would say relatively calm to this point, but now that I just said the C word, that means it is going to be insane from here on out.
yeah, I mean, it's honestly very impressive that we made it as long as we did in this race. Very great driving from these guys, and unfortunately, a lot of the wrecks we've seen, honestly, have been pretty minor. And Barry Sanders, that number 81 right there, just set the fastest lap of the race so far.
It definitely a fast car to that number 81, but I mean, that 81 just has not shown the pace that these top 5 has shown. He may have the fastest lap right now, but I feel like he is probably the 4th or 5th fastest car on track right now. As I mean, you just look in our top 5 and you easily can pick out at least 4 or 5 of the fastest cars.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, we talked about sorry, I've had a total zone out moment there.
I'll talk to it. I have all the time. Don't worry about it.
But we've talked about how a lot of these guys up at the front, they're able to break away because they're able to just stay in line so well with each other. And we saw at the end of stage 2 that it wasn't really until that stage was closing down that anyone in the top was able to take a crack at them. Like, look at the top 3 right there. They are just glued together going into turn 3. And not always are they even lifting. Sometimes they are pushing going into the corners. See the 27 of Bikey there pushing Davis, who is pushing Davis. No relation.
That's not confusing. I'm not confused. You're confused.
At least they're both not named Shane. We do have 2 Shanes out here, though. Well, 3, I guess, if you count me up there.
Okay. My brain's broken.
Snap out of it. We're still green.
Yeah, we're still green, but we are relatively chill right now, which gives us a little bit of time to reset up here in the booth and get ready for this finish. We are expecting at least one more pit stop in this race, with the opportunity of some green flag pit stops, if that's your thing, as it is a 60-lap run. And these guys are running 100% full fuel tanks as well. There is no fuel limitations in this series. So these guys are going to either have to save a little bit of fuel or going to have to make a green flag pit stop, as the fuel window anywhere between 40 to 46 laps, just depending on how much you decide to fuel save. And it looks like that's what a good chunk of the pack may be doing, is just sitting in line and fuel saving right now, whereas this top 5 seems to be at full tilt.
And you could also take into account, as far as that fuel window goes, that you might want to take enough fuel to make it through an overtime attempt. We do get one green-white checkered attempt at the end of this race if we need it. And you don't want to be running out of fuel at a place like this.
And that is exactly how I lost my split of the Daytona 500 last week. To the T. Not even kidding.
Oh, we have a little smoke there through the grass. I'm
Locked
not
up
sure.
in the pit road, it looks like.
And we talked about that at the start of the show as well. And not a shocker that that's what's
It was
happening.
Matt Cox.
Yeah, Matt Cox. His day is gone from pretty good to not very.
Absolutely horrible. Well, we are working lap number 70 here out of 120. Things are pretty chilled out right now, so how about we send it to a little crank it up here, figure out how these cars actually sound at full speed.
Yeah, turn that knob up.
Always good to be able to get the sights and sounds of the virtual Daytona International Speedway going through the speakers here. I know I had my volume cranked up as well, but man, always nice to hear the roar of NASCAR going around Daytona. Just nothing better. Nothing better.
Can't say there's ever been one that sounded quite like the next gen does. If you've ever been to a race where the next gen car is at, you'll want to bring hearing protection or that, or you'll live with a ringing for a few days.
Yeah, I happened to go to Talladega last year for the playoff race, and that was my first race with the next-gen cars. I was perfectly fine with the trucks and the Xfinity without earplugs, but oh man, that first lap, I was like, all right, where's the earplugs? I need those now.
These things got some power. They are quite the cool sounding ride. And I mean, so you go back and look at the 24 Hours Le Mans car, the Garage 56 car. That kept waking everybody up at night.
I would have paid so much money to be able to be there for that. I would have paid so much money.
Still got the number
that is
79 up at the front of the field here in this one though. Yep.
Still relatively calm here at Daytona. Not much has changed. You got a little bit of an outside line looking to form further back. Not much in the way of any success, as that's Kenny Coppola, Aaron Matthews, and Tim Wortman Jr. on that outside line, but they really haven't been able to do much in terms of actually catching any time on this inside line.
And we talked about the 79 of Shane Davis on that restart, wondering if maybe he had gone a little early. Obviously, don't believe anything came of that. But also of note is that Shane Wyatt in the 23, who started in the lead for that restart, he is shaded back to 7th. He's the first car with a little bit of a gap to these top 6 here.
Yeah, it looks like he's just kind of lagging back a little bit, saving a little bit of fuel, which isn't necessarily a bad idea, seeing as we have so long left in this race. Currently looking, Aaron Matthews about got turned by Kenny Coppola off of turn number 4 there. Able to keep it straight, but we're looking at about 54, I believe, laps to go here. Nope, I lied, 44 laps to go. So we are within the pit window, just about, but I don't think we're going to see anyone come down pit road this early.
Yeah, I think we'll see guys definitely play a little bit more of a waiting game. You know, like I said, you might want to take into consideration the possibility of there being overtime, but it's just entirely up to you. It's the 54. Look who's back. Look who's in front of that 54, Kenny Coppola.
Yeah, as we said, I mean, there weren't a lot of people that had a lot of damage in that big wreck. It was a big wreck in terms of a lot of cars, but I mean, no one really hit or got any race-ending damage in that, as we're now this field working their way through some lap traffic. Matt Cox getting lapped on the bottom there. They got another car right in front of him that they're gonna have to work past. But as I said, there wasn't a lot of people that got a lot of heavy damage. I feel like Matt Cox definitely got the worst bit of damage out of that.
Gonna bring that exact thing up. Got another slow car here in the, is that the 99? Dropping
Chris
back.
Courier. Oh,
My
man.
gosh, and he almost tagged Rogers in the 44 there. But back to Matt Cox, you know, it's obviously frustrating for him. He's definitely got the blunt end of the that incident. Basically just riding around, logging laps. You never know who might get in an accident. You can gain those positions. You know, you got to race for the points. 54 got a little swirly there just a moment ago as well. The 11 of Gallimore laying back on him as well. You mentioned just a moment ago there, Nick, talking about these guys maybe saving fuel. 2 that might not be. Well, the 54, I thought the 54 was going to stay locked on to the 17 of Sullivan there, but he just kind of pushed him out and left him.
Yeah, that will allow the rest of the field to get connected to this, call it a breakaway pack of 6 or 7 cars, but still just a lot of people just riding here right now, not really looking to make any aggressive moves. Of course, you got a little bit of 2-wide going on further back in the field, but as I said, not a lot of racing going on here, as guys are just trying to figure out what they want to do with their strategy, because of course there is always the chance of a green-white checker at the end of this race. So you obviously have to go long enough in this first run to be able to account for that green-white checker if there is one. So a lot of math being played here as these guys are just playing a game of hurry up and wait right now.
Yeah, and you know, another thing that I would take into consideration as far as, you know, how much fuel you take. Some of them might not even take into consideration the green-white checker. They might have been pushing that clutch in for a while during that stage caution, that accident caution as well, just to maybe have to take a little less fuel, spend a little less time in the pit box. I don't imagine we'll see many of these guys taking tires. That's not ever really a factor here on a track like this, at least not for a good while into a run. So we'll just have to wait and see. That top lane has completely disintegrated now, and we are completely single file, which tells me that not only is the pit window well open, we might be coming up on it for some of these guys.
Yeah, and I can kind of sit here and run you through, because, I mean, I'm a driver myself. Shane, I know you drive as well, and I know we both do competitive leagues as well. So to kind of give you a little bit of a look, kind of in the driver's seat here of what these guys are thinking right now. Obviously, you know the fuel window, anywhere between 40 and 46 laps. It all depends on how hard you're pushing, how much you're fuel saving, if you're where you are in the pack. If you're leading this pack, you're going to burn more fuel, obviously. If you're further back, you're going to save more fuel. But looking into the cockpit right now, A lot of these guys are thinking, all right, how much fuel do I got to take? Do I want to take left side tires here? Do I want to take right side tires here? What kind of tires do I want to take? Do I even want to take tires at all? Is this going to be a fuel only? Who am I going to come down to pit with? I know that sounds confusing because it is very confusing, especially when you're in the middle of the pack and you have all these questions you got to answer. Like, am I going to take 8.5 gallons of fuel? Am I going to take 10.9? What am I going to take here? So it's very confusing, especially in the seat, and it takes a lot of focus. So that's why we're not really seeing a lot of racing. People are just trying to sit single file because they're trying to figure out what they want to do for their money stop. Because more than likely, if this goes green all the way to the end, this is going to be the last stop of the race. So you're sitting here trying to figure out exactly what you want to do to put yourself in the best position to be able to win this race. Because if you win this race, that's going to put you on the best possible start this season.
Absolutely. Takes a lot of focus to try and figure out when you want to pit, because you're not only having to focus on that when you're in the car, you know, thinking about what lap, what do I do, what do I take. You're also still racing in this moment. You're trying to focus on what's going on ahead of you. You don't know if there might be an accident that you have to avoid, while also, you know, doing all this math in your head. These guys, a lot of them don't have crew chiefs. They don't have all the help guys behind the wheel of the real cars on Sundays do. And, you know, like you said, we, you know, both run here on iRacing as well. I was, you know, part of the NIS 500 last week as well, and it takes a lot out of you mentally, trying to figure out what strategy that you want to go with, because, you know, you're trying. Oh, here we go. It is time.
Here we go. Pit stops here is a lot of the field. Shane Davis, Brandon Bikey, Chris Davis. We have contact further back. Randy Mullins, and I believe that was the 9 of Jeffrey Taylor made contact at the entry of pit road.
As lock up the tires as well. I'm not so sure that 79 made it. Take a look at what happened here. Watch for the 54 car. So they all peel down.
Oh, man, he way overshot that.
Oh, and he just,
boom.
Almost, who was it in the
it was a truck race, I believe.
Chris Wright, I believe, had a moment exactly like that.
I thought it was the truck race that happened.
One or the other, but that was almost to a T. You know, just it's very easy to misjudge that. I know that, you know, that might sound crazy, or, you know, maybe that just looked like a boneheaded move, but I promise you that is an easy mistake to make because you're trying to gain time. You're not. Oh, we have one almost get turned around.
That was a 5 of Aaron Matthews. About got turned on the backstretch. This is in our lead pack right here.
His teammate Sullivan almost sent him around, and, you know, there's Shane Wyatt up to third now. These guys have not hit yet. We'll see if any of them dip down now. Yep, here we go. We got another group coming.
The Arrow.
See a lot of Team Arrow cars here, yeah.
Yeah, Team Arrow coming down pit road. Oh, lockups here.
It's a lot of these guys have been cutting it very close. I'd be very interested to see if we've had any.
Florida Highway Patrol is feeling very generous today. No speeding penalties handed out there.
That is just a great job by these guys, because that is insane timing to lock them up at the moment they did. Did see the 5 taking tires there as well.
And I will mention one thing real quick that we just completely forgot to mention when going through what goes through these drivers' heads. That's another thing. You also got to worry about how you're going to get into pit road, because these cars do not have good brakes. These Cup cars, they do not have good brakes whatsoever. So you have to find the right point at the right moment to slow down, but you also want to gain as much time as you can on pit road. So it's a game of risk versus reward. There is so many things going through these drivers' heads on a lap-by-lap basis. It's not even fun.
Yeah, of course, and you know, in fixed setup racing, you still can change your brake bias as well. So some of these guys, you know, take that into consideration as well. Probably race it'll make it a lot easier to come to a stop, especially in your pit box, because long into a run, it'll be very easy to not just send it into pit road too fast. It'll be very easy to overshoot your stall, and that's going to lose a lot of time for you if that happens.
And that's another thing too. This fixed setup and a lot of the open setups as well. They run very, very large brake master cylinders, because that takes a little bit of the drag off the car. So these brakes, they're not good at all. They suck. I mean, these are horrible brakes. So you're going from 200 miles an hour to 55 miles an hour on the worst brake package you can have on a Cup car. And you're also on cold brakes as well, because realistically, you're not supposed to be on the brakes at a plate track. So you have very cold brakes mixed with a bad brake package is a recipe for disaster, but these guys still manage to do it 3 or 4 times a race.
You're also definitely not going to, like you said, you're not going to throw these brakes onto a car you're taking out to Bristol, Martinsville, nothing like that. It's just not going to be very easy to come to a stop. Still got the 45 up front here of the field in shade, with Wyatt pushing him. I don't believe any of these guys in this pack here
these guys
hit yet.
No, they have not hit. No.
In 7th there, the 43 Toyota. Pushing Coffee in the 19. Saw him go for a little bit of a ride earlier, was able to hang on to it.
The first cars that have pit are Chris Davis, Brandon Bikey, Kenny Coppola, and Nicholas Atwood. It's a group of about 5 or 6 cars. They're 32 seconds off the lead, sitting in 12th spot right now. Anyone above them has not pit just yet, so just keep that in mind. Chris Spear on up to Johnny Shade have not pit on your timing screen.
So you just kind of have to assume that after everything cycles through, that this will be your race for what will eventually be the win. You're still winding down here. You see Bikey with that Viper front end, giving a big shot there to Davis as they go into turn 3. Just a matter of how long do you want to run this, and run this out.
Yeah, and you're still within your fuel window right now. I mean, like we said, we said it like 4 or 5 times tonight, 40 to 46, just depending on how much you save fuel. So you're still way good on fuel right now. If you're in this lead pack, you still got about 9-10 laps of fuel, give or take. Just depending on, like I said, a ton of different factors. So a lot of these guys still good to push it to at least lap 100. So we'll see if they decide to push it that late, but you're getting to the point now where it's almost you're losing too much time for it to be worth pitting. So if I was anyone in this lead pack, I would want to come before lap 95, just to give myself a little bit of time to catch back up to the lead pack if I need to.
Absolutely. And the top 2 right now, also have noticed those are teammates there on Dig Esports. We're coming up on Gallimore up there in the 11. Interesting to see that he's fell off the pace. It's been one of the guys that we saw able to make the top 4 break away if he's a part of it. So I do believe a lot of these guys up here that have not pit yet, there are a decent bit of teammates in this group for Dig Esports. The 18 is one of them. The 19 is part of that team. The 23, the 45, all are on that team. And Johnny Shade leading right now. Won 4 super speedway races in another league in 2 seasons.
I called that league. I remember all 4 of those wins.
Out of
Johnny
Toledo,
Shade
Ohio.
was known as the Pied Piper in that league. He was the plate racing master of that league.
And he's enjoying a comfortable view then right now out of Toledo, Ohio.
And if we have anyone who knows what league I'm talking about, Wicked Racing League, they had some great shows in that league before it eventually folded. But a lot of these guys ended up racing in that league, and that was the league Johnny Shade won 4 plate races in 2 seasons with. There's a lot of other guys that were in that. Shane Wyatt was in there. Nigel Christensen was in there. I mean, I could go down through this field and name you just about every driver that was in that league because it was such a good league to call.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. And those, plate races
7
are often a lot of the really fun ones to call.
Now, here's a fun fact for you. Looking through our teams list right now, the top 7 all Dig Esports.
There you go. So you would have to assume they're all going to come down pit road together, and it'll be a matter of how well do they time it, because clearly this is a plan that has been in place for a while. They're all on the same page with each other. Also of note, Shane Wyatt, he was our pole sitter in that 23 machine. He is the youngest driver in the field, just 19 years of age out of Greensboro, North Carolina. showing these guys how it's done up front.
Yeah, you got all sorts of age ranges in this league. 19 up to, I believe the highest I saw was 43, if I'm not mistaken. So got a wide range of drivers in this league in terms of age and experience on iRacing. So you definitely have a mixed field for sure.
Absolutely. A lot of mixed age ranges, mixed talent, all of them putting on a great show regardless. And we are just picking away laps here. And you mentioned that these are all teammates here. First through, I believe you said, 7th position. It's just very interesting to see how long they want to drag this out. Taking a look there at the 81, Barry Sanders, currently in 8th.
Okay, I did a little bit of research, and Shane Wyatt is the youngest at 19. The oldest is actually Paul Gallimore in the number 11. He's currently sitting at 50 years old racing in this field. So 19, oh, Shane Wyatt about got turned off the nose of Nigel Christensen there through the trial. Well, that would have ruined Dig Esports' point.
Yeah, that's something that definitely factors in. You don't want to take each other out. You guys are sitting in a good position right now. You've had this whole plan mapped out. You don't really want to be the one to on your team that they know caused your plan to go just throw it all out the window.
Now here's a little bit of an interesting development. Chris Davis, Brandon Bikey, Kenny Coppola, Nicholas Atwood, and Shane Davis. Those are the earliest cars that have pitted. When they came out of pits, they were 32 seconds behind this lead pack. They have actually lost a second to Johnny Shade and this lead pack of 7 cars, or at least these 7 lead lap cars in this lead pack. So that'll be something we're going to have to watch as soon as these guys decide to come down pit road. We're going to have to see how close that gap ends up being and how close this race is actually going to be for the win. Because as of right now, your Dig Esports drivers, and from Chris Davis down to about Shane Davis, seem to be the only ones who really have the pace to be able to handle this. So this second pack, or this first pitted pack, I guess, I know it's a little bit confusing, but the first pack of pitted cars seems to be losing a lot of time.
Yeah, and I mean, they might just have played it perfect. It's all going to be how they execute getting on and off of pit road. They got a lot more cars in their pack than, you know, those that we figured were going to siphon the lead, and still very well might. But it's just it's interesting to see that they are still going. I'm very surprised that they have not hit yet.
Yeah, they should be coming down here within the next couple of laps. That is one of the strategies I did not have on my bingo card. I did not expect anyone to push this all the way to the empty tank. I would have expected pit stops between 85 and 95, and that was it. But no, this lead pack, they're pushing it all the way to the as far as they can go. I'm assuming they have Johnny Shade's fuel number right now. I'm assuming he's giving updates every lap, and they're going to pit as soon as he's out of fuel or getting ready to be out of fuel. I believe that's how they're going to do their strategy.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, it works. That's all it really boils down to. Sometimes it just comes down to outsmarting the competition. You know, you gotta be fast, you gotta be good at some tracks, but you also gotta be smart at a lot of these places with the strategy you put in place.
Oh yeah, and that goes back to one of my favorite sayings. It's a 200-mile-an-hour game of chess. That's all plate racing is. It's a game of chess. How much smarter can you be than the rest of the cars in this field? That is all it is. I mean, of course, you got to survive, you know, the wrecks, and you got to survive in the pack. But when it comes down to it, as actually here it comes now. Here comes the Dig Esports cars coming down pit road right now.
Funny.
No speeding, no speeding. You cannot afford a speeding penalty here.
Oh my goodness, they did. As long as there are no speeding penalties there, then they did an incredible job there.
How? No speeding penalties were issued there. I don't understand how.
It also looks like they are all executing getting in their pit boxes extremely well as well. No tires there on the 45. You can tell he's just going to get fuel in that Toyota.
Yeah.
They are going to all head off pit road together.
Fuel only for the Dig Esports crew.
23 there. Shane Wyatt is going to lose a position. He was kind of swirly getting on pit road, maybe lost a little momentum. So that's going to put Coffee in the 19 back in to second. This is still your leaders, by the way. That pack right back there, you see him off. Oh no! Shade goes into the dirt.
No! Shane Wyatt's around, and a couple others. Johnny Shade, I believe, was around too. I believe the majority of them saved it, but here comes the lead pack. Chris Davis, Brandon Bikey, Kenny Coppola, and others are going to fly past this pitting pack that just came down pit road. Chris Davis is your leader now.
That is very easy to do. Getting up to speed coming off pit road on that apron can be very treacherous, and he almost made it, and he must have just got a little sideways, nicked the grass, and by that point, there's just no grip. And honestly, incredible that he didn't just spin it all the way down into that inside wall. But now that our laps are winding down, Davis back up front, and the Dig Esports cars very separated.
Man, it is so much fun when plate races become fuel mileage races. It is just so much fun to be able to call these races. Chris Davis, your leader, as we have crossed 20 laps to go here at Daytona. And for the 74 of Chris Davis, barring any craziness, should just be smooth sailing for this pack, as I believe most of this group are teammates other than Chris Davis.
We talked about a nickname Seabiscuit up at the front now, with Bikey right up the rear bumper of that machine. Bikey's been a great pusher for that 74, even pre-pit stops.
Don't look now. Alex Coffey and Shane Wyatt are just barely hanging on to the rear end of the draft off this lead pack, and I mean barely.
They can just get a little bit of a run. Maybe there's a couple other cars behind them as well that if they can just get to them, they might be able to get a little whiff of that draft and get up here and get involved in this. Here they are, two more teammates joining them in the 18 and 19. Or sorry, the 79 and 19.
It's Blaine Wilson and Nigel Christensen that have caught up to their teammates in Shane Wyatt and Alex Coffey. They got to stay formed up, though, if they want any shot of being able to catch these leaders. Gap's at 1.4 crossing the line, and that's doable. They just got to be able to stay formed up to get into that draft.
Yeah, they got to stay tight on each other, and they got to do it perfect to have a shot, like you said, to just get up there. All it takes is just a little bit of the draft off what will end up being the back of the 79 as it stands right now, and they'll be right up here in the mix. But it's going to come down to if they can do that. And right now, they're formed up pretty good, whereas these top five are a little bit out of line with one another. Got another pack back here that maybe if they could catch that other group, could maybe get back up there. And one of those cars leading that pack is the 45 of Shade. We saw almost Bennett coming off pit road, but might not be over yet.
1.22 was the gap at the line between Davis and Coffey. Now both packs are kind of separated by just a little bit, but it's still very fine margins here at Daytona. Now, of course, that draft number, you start getting a sniff of the draft at 1.1, right between 1.1 and 1.0, but you really don't start getting the full effects until about 0.9, 0.8. So these guys are really going to have to catch this draft.
Cox just got right in line of those guys, and I'm not sure if, I think it did a lot more harm than good, but definitely going to affect things. But they are definitely making some time up.
Without that lap car, they would have had the draft there. Coffey was at 0.7 crossing the line, but that lap car and Matt Cox really screwed up their plan for the moment, but I think they're still just barely in the draft.
They still got time. Maybe might have just been delayed a little bit. I'm sure they're not too pleased with Matt Cox, kind of killing their momentum, but plenty of time to get up here, and they are flying now. They are going to get here.
Are moving.
And we are going to have us a race here.
204 miles an hour for Alex Coffey heading into turn number 1. They have caught up to this lead pack, and this 5-car race for the win just became an 8-car race for the win.
And it's about to get very, very exciting very, very quick. As every lap ticks down, the intensity will ramp up even more. They're a little broken up now, but I think they're still close to but this might help them. Got the 17 lap traffic. got them out of line and allowed those other 3 to get back formed up a little bit, and here they come again. They're going to have another big shot at this. And those guys are still running up at the top, interesting enough.
Alex Coffey, yeah, Shane Wyatt needs to get up to Coffey and give him a bump here just to make sure they stay in the draft. It looks like they are. Yeah, they're fully in the draft now. Unfortunately, they lost at least one of their teammates in Nigel Christensen, but he's with a lap car now, and I think he's going to try to push them up to Blaine, to that number 18 of Blaine Wilson.
I believe Shane Wyatt was actually dragging back to take or kind of pick up the 18 and get him up here as well. Might be wondering if these guys up at the front are, might not have enough fuel to make it to the end.
Okay, so they should be good because they came down within the window. It's just a matter of if they short fueled or not. That is the big question right now, if they short fueled. Because if they short fueled, then that's going to make it interesting.
5 cars have now joined up here with the leaders. The 17, a lapper, actually giving these guys a bit of help getting up in the mix now.
Yeah, and that second pack has caught. They are within the draft. They have no concerns whatsoever. So now, what was a 5-car race for the win turns into a 9-car race for the win. Remember, there is a lap car in here as well. So while the pack is 10 cars, it is only 9 cars racing for the win.
Yeah, this is just about what all you could ask for as this race is closing down. We've seen a great race today, and now this is about to pick up any moment now as we're nearing that 10 to go mark. And from there, I figure it's game on. You got Kenny Coppola up here in the mix, who has been outstanding tonight. Thought we had seen it all from him. Was collected in a crash, but there was essentially no damage. It's actually going to be our VSPEED driver of the day in that 77 Toyota Camry.
Oh, Coffey about took it to the outside of Shane Davis in the 79. Thought better of it. Now here comes the move. Alex Coffey to the inside. Now he's got Nigel Christensen, Shane Wyatt, and Blaine Wilson behind him. And they're making the move now. They're to the inside of the 79 of Shane Davis. Davis thought about going down the side draft. He's going to get back up in line because he's in danger of losing this draft.
I think he'll be able to latch back on here into 3 and 4, but the question is, do those 4 up top go down to block this pack, because they are making some headway now. Thought maybe they had made this move too early, but they are here and they are up to the 4th position. At least Coffey is, and he's aiming to get to that inside of Coppola next, and he's going to, because they kind of checked up a little bit.
Yeah, that outside line checks up. Bikey still on the rear end of the 74 of Chris Davis. Now Nicholas Atwood goes down to side draft the 18 of Blaine Wilson and Nigel Christensen, but Coffey has the lead off of turn number 2. Bikey gets separated from the 74 of Chris Davis. Davis does not, he loses the lead for the first time since pit stops, but he's going to gain it back heading down into turn number 3. Dead even draw through turns 3 and 4. We have got 9 to go here at Daytona.
Shane Wyatt pushing Coffey there in that bottom lane. The top's got the momentum, though. They're going to get back ahead. The 74 will probably stay with Bikey, I would imagine. Don't think he'd want to go down to block all that momentum just yet. That's more of a maybe 2 to go last lap kind of move. But the top is definitely still formed up a lot better than the bottom. But when the bottom gets formed up, they can fly.
It is a 4v5 in terms, actually a 4v6 in terms of numbers. That outside line has 6 cars, 4 for the inside line. And here comes Alex Coffey once again. It's only a tandem up top compared to a 3-car breakaway. Coffey gets a little bit loose off the nose of the 23 of Shane Wyatt, and they're going to lose a little bit of their momentum on that bottom line. But that outside line really not gaining too much right now.
Yeah, Christensen in that green 20 on the inside, it just, for some reason, seems unable to keep the pace with his 3 teammates essentially ahead of him. might be getting side drafted back, but he can only really get up, give a push to the 18. He kind of falls back. Kind of wonder maybe there's a little damage somewhere on that nose.
He's getting side drafted by that outside line. Every time he gets up to Blaine Wilson in the number 18, he gets side drafted off the 18. But here comes the move once again from the 19 of Alex Coffey. Bikey goes down to side draft, gets the 23 of Shane Wyatt off of Alex Coffey, but Coffey is clear. He's going to go up for the block, and Davis gets turned. Davis gets turned off of turn number 4. The lead back is wrecking it. Brandon Bikey is the only survivor right now. No caution. No caution. They race on.
I am in disbelief that we are still green.
Wow.
Can't imagine that this goes over very well. The 18 now pushing all
Lane
over the back of Bikey.
He's not happy.
Yeah, I would imagine that this isn't just a draft push at this point. So many incredible cars just wiped out in the blink of an eye right there.
We'll get a very quick replay here. And we're working on getting that replay. He's coming off of turn number 4 a couple of laps ago. And we're working on a replay here, but basically what happened is Alex Coffey went up for a block and Chris Davis got turned off the nose of Brandon Bikey. So that is why we only have 3 cars racing for the win right now. As I believe now we have a replay. Here it is. So Alex Coffey gets a huge run into turn number 3. And, of course, Brandon Bikey and Chris Davis are separated. So Coffey gets clear here, just barely, decides to go up and block the 74 of Chris Davis. Davis takes it all the way to the wall and gets loose.
Oh,
man.
Yeah, that just,
oh, my goodness.
Just completely sucked the 74 around when the 19 got up. Just wasn't quite able to get clear. And this right here is now the battle for the win. Bikey, Wilson, Davis, 1, 2, 3. Everyone else is about 4 seconds back now. It is a pack.
They are catching.
Yeah, it is a pack of about 5 cars, maybe 6 cars, and they are going to get here. We're coming back to 3 laps to go. So this is going to
be tight.
Really ramp up.
This is going to be tight. They're catching, but they're only catching about a half a tenth a lap. As compared, so we're coming to 3 to go, and the gap's 3.7. They're going to get within the draft. It's just going to be a matter of, are they going to be able to catch up to Shane Davis, Blaine Wilson, and Brandon Bikey as they just took 3 to go?
This is...
Gap was 3.3 at the line. They'll get the draft. It's just, are they going to be able to catch?
I have a little bit of, I think it was actually a little bit of dirt on the track. Thought we had one smoking a little bit, but I think it was just a little bit of dirt. And it's interesting, and even more so, that that the 17 right there leading this pack, that is not a lead lap car. So he's just basically leading these guys to the promised land right now.
Yeah, and they're catching. They are definitely catching. 10-mile-an-hour difference into turn number 3 there. We'll see what the gap is, but they're coming to take 2 to go here. Brandon Bikey takes 2 to go here at Daytona, 5 miles from glory for that number 27.
Gotta wonder what Blaine Wilson, what maybe his plan is with Shane Davis, or is there one, or all bets off? I feel like if I'm Shane Davis, got the 23, Shane Wyatt going down a lap there, or another lap. Unfortunate for him, our pole sitter, but the 18 now just locked on to the 27. So you are putting yourself in a position here where, one, you got these guys lying right now, but you also might back up to the 79 of Shane Davis and get you a big run and go for it. Not going to make the move yet.
Thought about it. 1 to go here at Daytona. White flag in the air presented by League Gaming. Brandon Bikey is your leader, but it's a 3-car breakaway, and it looks like they may lose Shane Davis here. So this could become a 2-horse race for the win. Davis holds on to this draft. The second pack, not a factor at all. They will not catch in time. So it's between Brandon Bikey, Blaine Wilson, and Shane Davis. Davis goes up to block. Davis goes to the outside. Bikey to the block. Bikey throws a block on Shane Davis. Blaine Wilson now, the third car in line. Through turns 3 and 4, Bikey your leader. Davis in second. Wilson in third. Off of turn number 4. No move made just yet, and there isn't going to be one. It's going to be Brandon Bikey taking the all-about sheet metal 300 from Daytona.
They crashed behind him as well. We got a... Oh, my goodness. Take a look here. I believe this is the crash again that we saw earlier. Took out a lot of heavy hitters in that one.
Brandon Bikey takes a nail-biter here at Daytona, somehow survives the chaos, and wins the all-about sheet metal 300 from Daytona. Wow.
Yeah, that was definitely, I don't know if I saw exactly that coming with the way that this one ended, but Brandon Bikey did exactly what he needed to. Shane Davis comes home in second, led 48 laps tonight, comes up short, but my goodness, Blaine Wilson in third, that's your podium.
Brandon Bikey gonna take it to VANLILYS stickers victory lane here at Daytona. An exciting race, but we're going to take a break real quick. We'll bring you right back, and we'll go through everything that happened in this race on our post-race show. Stay right here.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
And we welcome you back here to Daytona International Speedway, getting a look here at our white flag lap. This is the final lap of the All About Sheet Metal 300 here. Getting a look at the replay. Of course, Brandon Bikey ends up winning this race. This is coming down the backstretch with 2 to go, so we're coming to the white flag. Wilson had the run on Bikey off of turn number 4, decided not to take it, and that opened the door for Shane Davis to go to the top, and it was history from there.
Yeah, this was just an incredible race with a very exciting finish. Obviously, there's going to be probably some questions had about that late race accident not resulting in a caution. I believe there's already been some discussion in some driver channels about the lack thereof of cautions from tonight. But we'll maybe ask a few of the guys that we interviewed tonight about that. But you also got Brandon Bikey that we'll talk to, the race winner.
Yeah, coming through 3 and 4 here, seeing a replay of the finish of this race. And what a race it was. Of course, there was a wreck. Yeah, there was a wreck coming to the Checkered in this second pack. Johnny Shea gets turned off the nose of, I believe that is Kevin Ruff.
It is, I I believe just
Boom! That lap
bad
car
timing.
had nowhere to go.
And it's the 17 Sullivan got up and got collected in that one. I believe that was just some jockeying for position that was just mistimed.
Right, well, we'll go ahead and cut it to our post-race interviews real quick. We'll go in the order of third, second, and first, and we'll talk with your third place finisher here in Blaine Wilson. Blaine Wilson, Nick Stein up here in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, it came down to a last lap, kind of just dash for the finish there. Kind of talk us through that final 6 laps or so. We know we saw that huge wreck with 6 to go that somehow didn't bring out a caution. What was your strategy just for that final few laps with just you three in racing for the win?
To be honest, there's nothing I could really do. It was pretty helpless up there. So it was 2 against 1 team-wise, and I mean, I fully expected them to work together, and they did. So I mean, it's not much I could really do besides kill them, which I thought about it, but my better half got to me. So, but we got top 3, which is cool. So no complaining on my end personally, I guess.
You start the season off with a third place finish. I mean, obviously you were working against 2 teammates there, but had you had the extra help there without that wreck, is there any way you think you could have won this race?
Oh yeah, it's definitely. I mean, you saw all of us up there prior to that wreck. That was both of our teams fighting against each other, and we were stuck on the bottom. The side draft is just too strong, like it has been since this car was released. So we're kind of just battling side by side, and whoever slips up first, the other lane's going to pull away. So it definitely would have been just like that, and it definitely would have been a closer finish for sure.
Well, looking ahead to next week at Atlanta, you got another plate track coming up. Is the strategy going to be the same for you guys before the wreck? Just kind of work together and hope for the best, or what's your strategy going for Atlanta?
Yeah, that's all super speedway racing is on iRacing. It's just numbers. The more numbers you got, the better you're going to do overall. Everyone's on the same strategy. And then it just comes down to luck. Don't get wrecked. Don't make the wrong call. Don't screw up. And at least at Atlanta, I think they're a lot more generous with the yellow. So hopefully this, whatever the heck happened here, doesn't happen again. But we'll see.
Well, congratulations on the third place here tonight, Blaine. Hopefully you get to go 2 better at Atlanta next week.
That's the plan. Shout out everyone on Dig. We all did good. Stuck to the strategy, and as you can see, it put us there at the end. And then just your normal super speedway wreck ruined it all. So, but we'll gather back up, get back to it next week.
Well, congratulations. That was Blaine Wilson, your third place finisher. And now Shane Mundy is sitting alongside Shane Davis, who was your second place.
Shane,
Go
you
on, guys.
obviously had a pretty good race tonight. Up there late in the going, got a good restart late, had the lead. You know, are you happy with this result coming up just 1 short, or does it sting a little, or what's
No,
going
there
through
was
your
no
mind right now?
there was no question. We're BMP, and I was going to stay on his ass the whole time, just like the duels. I never pulled out on Kenny. We're pushing him to the win. We're a team effort here, very unselfish team, and there was no even thought about pulling out.
Definitely a very respectable move, teammates helping each other out like that. Speaking of that, do you feel like this finish will give your team a lot of momentum moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, we were hooked up really well. The whole team, as far as BMP 1 goes, man, we dominated the first 2 stages. We were hooked up. We had the correct, combination as far as where we needed our pushers to be, where we needed our leader to be, our 4th car. Just Paul Gallimore was doing a fantastic job. Kenny was doing a fantastic job as a 3rd car. Unfortunately, they got caught up in some of that there at the end. And, it just worked out really well.
All right, and one last question for you. Obviously, that last big accident that did not bring out a caution, what are your thoughts on that? Were you surprised that there was not a caution, or do you think that they made the right call there?
I was a little surprised it wasn't a caution, but all the cars that were spinning were going down to the apron, so I just kept in it. Luckily, a gap opened up, and I was able to suck back up to Bikey and Blaine there. And unfortunate for all them guys, it just the sometimes how it rolls with these big super speedways with the apron being so big.
All right, Shane. Well, thank you so much for your time. Congrats on a great run, and hopefully this will push your team all the way.
Yeah, I want to give an appreciation to all the BMP guys. They did an awesome job. We ran 1 through 4 most of the race there. BMP won. We had great help from some of the other BMP guys. Give a shout out to the DIG guys. The DIG guys were killing it there at the end. They had a good flawless pit stop. They're running good 45.5s there to stay in the competition, and unfortunate for a lot of them that they got caught up in that as well.
All right, thank you, Shane.
Appreciate it. Have a good.
Shane Davis, your second place finisher, and now we get to speak with your race winner, Brandon Bikey. Brandon, you got a copy?
Got a copy.
Well, you managed to survive the chaos somehow. I mean, you look like you were dead to rights there in the middle of that wreck, but somehow able to come out and win this race. Just kind of talk us through the final 5 laps and just kind of the emotions going through.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, we had some great teamwork there. The BMP drivers were all sticking together and doing really well working together. You know, Shane and I were able to make it through that wreck, and we knew we had a pretty good shot if we just got in line, and Blaine was helping us out there, stay in front of everybody. Much appreciate, you know, I throw a lot of appreciation to him for that. But we, you know, if we could just keep it between the 3 of us, then I knew that Shane and I, as long as, you know, Blaine didn't get too crazy and try to wreck us, which he's a respectable driver and he does a great job. So I didn't figure he would, but I knew we'd be able to pull out the top 2 there with the right moves, and we were able to make it happen. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, you ended up being one of the best pushers all night. I mean, we were commenting about it 2 or 3 times tonight that you just seem to have the most stable pushing car. I mean, were you expecting to win this race tonight? I mean, obviously being a pusher, I mean, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to win a race, but kind of what was your mindset heading in knowing you were supposed to be a pusher?
Yeah, I love pushing. I think I have a lot more fun doing it than leading. It's just you got something to do the entire race, and that's just timing your runs and doing that. And I raced probably 20-some official races last week at Daytona, so I was as prepared for any track as I've been. And I've always loved super speedway racing, going back to NASCAR racing 4 days. So it's just something I've always loved doing, and you know, I was hoping to win. I was hoping that at least one of our BMP drivers won. That's all I really cared about, and I was going to push anyone to the win from our team that I could. And I just happened to shake out that I was in front. So Shane, you know, just like all of us would do, we just pushed each other to the win if we're all going to be able to finish in a row at the front. So it was, like I said, it was just great teamwork. And, you know, we did a lot of testing and a lot of prep for the race, and just worked. You could see we worked very well together. I think we led 95% of that race, one of our team drivers. So happy to see it.
Well, I asked Shane kind of what the plan was for Atlanta and kind of how he was feeling, but I want to know what you're personally thinking about Atlanta. What's your personal plan for Atlanta? Kind of how are you planning on, you know, running that race? What's kind of the mentality, knowing you already have the win to get locked into the playoffs? Kind of what's your mentality going into Atlanta?
Yeah. So I've run a couple of officials at Atlanta this week. It's a wild track. I mean, I know it's super speedway like, but you know, handling does play a major factor, especially long run. And it's just hard to like stay connected to somebody for a long period of time there. It's dangerous to do it through the corner. You can, but you're risking just catching them sideways. And then it's such a tight track that if someone wrecks up near the front, it's going to destroy a lot of cars. So I think Atlanta's going to be just, let's just pray that you stay out of trouble. And, you know, now that I've got the win and I'm locked in the playoffs, I can really go crazy with any strategy, just try to go for a winning strategy rather than just running for points now. So it is a weight off my shoulders, but I do want to get our other drivers locked in so that they can also not worry about it. We can just have fun and race, you know, week after week and not worry about playoffs until it comes playoff time.
Congratulations on the win tonight, Brandon. Hopefully we get to talk to you again next week at Atlanta. But again, congratulations tonight on what was a dominating performance for your team.
I appreciate it. You know, I just want to shout out to all the BMP drivers, Beast Mode Performance. Most particularly Kenny Coppola. He built the setup that we run with Team Watson Racing. and you can get the setup at Team Watson Racing setups, and it was phenomenal. So I want to thank you and thank everybody at BMP. And then everybody that supports me. My dad watches a lot of these. I've got family. Garrett watches a lot of these, and my wife, she's always back there supporting me. So I appreciate it all. And anybody else watching out there, I hope we made it a good one for y'all. And for you guys doing the broadcast, you knock it out of the park every time.
Well, thank you, Brandon. You have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
That was your race winner, Brandon Bikey there. But, I mean, wow. I couldn't sum it up better myself. Just what a race that was. And I kind of want to get your final thoughts here, Shane. I mean, kind of walk me through that from your perspective. Kind of what'd you see, what'd you like, what'd you not like there? I mean, just give us some final thoughts, Rick.
It was a great race. I definitely will admit there were a couple of the no called yellows that I was a little, questioned a little bit, especially the latter wreck that did not result in the caution. Think it would have been neat to have given everybody that was behind a chance to bundle back up and see what maybe they could do. But it came down to 3 great drivers, and Brandon Bikey did everything he had to do and had a great teammate, a loyal teammate behind him that made sure he got the win, which I think is a very respectable thing, and I think he deserves a lot of credit. So I'm excited for Atlanta. It's like Brandon said, it's a very, very interesting track. It's technically a plate race, draft race, whatever you want to call it, but it is definitely its own animal.
Yeah, I like to call Atlanta Daytona's sadistic little cousin, honestly, because it is just it's everything you hate about Daytona on a very, very smaller track. I personally don't like racing there, but I love watching races there.
Oh yeah,
so
we'll have a great time next week.
Yeah, we'll have a good one. But that is going to do it from the virtual World Center of Racing here on VSPEED. The All About Sheet Metal 300 here for the OB Builders Cup Series and the Moonshiners Racing League. We'll catch you next week at Atlanta. Y'all stay safe and have a great, great night.